book is called Will I Have a Friend? The story is by Miriam Cohen and the art is by Lillian Hoban. When Pa was taking Jim to school for the first time, Jim said, "Will I have a friend at school?" "I think you will," said Pa, and Pa smiled down at him. He's going to school for the first time. I wonder how he feels. In the big schoolroom, Pa said, "Goodbye." Jim didn't say anything. He didn't want to say goodbye. "Come, Jim," the teacher said. I wonder how he feels about his Pa leaving. How do you think he feels? All the boys were making noise. All the girls were laughing. Where was his friend? The teacher said, "Here is Bill. He's a rocket man." Bill said, "Err," and he rocketed off. Anna Marie walked by. She was pulling a wagon filled with blocks. Jim looked at them. Anna Maria skipped away. Jim went over to a big table. There were lumps and humps of gray clay on it. The children were pulling and pinching, poking and patting the clay. They were making snails, hills, holes, and a banana. Jim reached out and touched the clay. It was cool and wet. When he picked it up, it was heavy. See, clay looks a lot like Play-Doh, but it's more dense. It's heavier than Play-Doh is. And when it dries, it stays the same shape forever. Jim made a man, but he did not know any friend to show him to. Now it was orange juice and cookie time. George said, "I want to pass the cookies." "Look," shouted Bill, "I bit the moon." "So did I," said Anna Maria. Jim thought of something to say. He said it to Joseph, but Joseph's mouth was full of cookies. He didn't answer. The pitcher was empty. Juice time was over. Sarah was telling Margaret a secret. Jim looked at them. Where was his friend? Wonder how he's feeling. How do you think he's feeling? Yeah, me too. Me too. Danny was shouting, "Let's do funny tummies." Danny poked out his tummy and bumped Willie's. Willie bumped Sammy's. When they bumped, they laughed and yelled, "Hello, Mr. Funny Tummy." And Jim laughed too. The teacher called, "Come to story time." All the children came running. Jim sat next to Paul. The teacher read a book about a monkey. Danny jumped up. "I'm a monkey," he said. He put his tongue in his lip and stuck out his fingers in his ears. Jim thought he looked just like a monkey. The teacher said, "It's time for monkeys to rest." They lay down on their mats. It was hard for them to sit still. Jim looked at the ceiling. He scratched his foot. Then he rolled over. Then he rolled back. Someone was looking at him. It was Paul, and he had something in his hand. There's them laying down, having nap time. And then here is him and Jim. Paul, I mean. When rest time was over, everyone got up. "Look what I have," said Paul. He showed Jim a tiny truck. Jim reached out and Paul put it in his hand. "The doors really work," said Paul. "I have a gas pump," said Jim. "I'll bring it tomorrow." Anna Maria called, "Jim and Paul, do you want to play?" "Okay," said Paul. "Okay," said Jim. After school, skipping home, Jim said to Pa, "Do you know what? I have a friend at school." "I thought you would," said Pa, and Pa smiled down at him. How do you think Jim feels now? Yeah, I bet he does. I bet he does. Ready? The end. I really like that story, especially right now for all of us, because even though we can't go to preschool every day, we still can talk to our friends. We can have circle time on the phone or iPad, and we can still stay connected to our friends because friendship is so important. All right, guys, thanks so much for listening to my story. Bye.